welcome again to the Clubroom. Sorry, welcome to the Clubroom. Super excited to have you guys on board again. We're supported by the Win Again Academy, of course. And my name is Mark Moyer. Been coaching athletes and other people for way too long time, but super excited to do that. And I love to offer events here in the Clubroom that really help educate and give off lots of great content and really are good for inspiration, motivation, but also learning. So with that said, I got two fine gentlemen in the room. The first I'm going to bring in is Bennie Fowler. And Bennie graduated from Michigan State University. I think he'll tell you it's the second best university in Michigan. I'm kidding around. But also, he is a Super Bowl champion. That's one of those things where you get the chance to wear a ring that's way too heavy for your finger, unless you're really strong, and then you can wear it and then show it to everybody and all that sort of thing. But he's also a best-selling author. He is also of the book Silver Spoon, and we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. And he's now involved in performance coaching, along with, he's a little bit sidelined right now from an injury that he sustained. I think it was folding laundry or something like that. But anyways, he's going to come in. So Bennie, I'm going to invite you in first. Why don't you come on in? And then next is Birden. One of my favorite guys on the planet. He is absolutely incredible. Birden is, he has, now he's got 47 kids, and he'll tell you all about that in a few minutes. But I met him in Las Vegas at an event, and I have to tell you right off the bat, I was completely impressed by his ability to not just capture an audience with his speaking skills, but to tie in a story. And his story is fantastic of, going to college at Oregon, and being on the track team and being discovered by the football coach, but kind of making himself be noticed, and then ended up catching many passes as a wide receiver. But I think one of his sort of like holy crap moments was catching a pass from Joe Montana. That's pretty damn cool. But now he's also a professional keynote speaker. He wrote a book called Opportunity Knocks, which I read, and it's fantastic. And it's just what it says, taking advantage of a door that's whether it's closed or open and going through it. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but okay, enough of that. I think he's maybe had enough of me introducing him. So JJ, come on in. And
awesome. Nice introduction. Thank you.
I didn't know if I was supposed to say something like you're one of the baldest men I know, but I don't know if that's
Hey, I had hair about a year and a half ago, so this is all new for me.
Wait a minute, what? Because you didn't a couple years ago, right? In Vegas or whatever it was. Yeah, a little bit.
About that low.
What happens is if you fertilize it and water it, it tends to. No, actually, it doesn't. One of the things we talked about here is that my dog sheds like crazy. It's one of these shedding dogs, and we want to know what is the secret sauce that's in that dog that makes all the hair grow. If they stuck like a little bit of that in a bottle and I could rub it right here, oh my God, we'd be billionaires. But I don't know what that technology is. But anyway, thanks, gentlemen, for being here. Appreciate it. One of the things that I want to really talk about is, a few different things, but you're both, inspirational speakers. You motivate people and everybody, and you talk about performance and really elevating everybody's game. I mean, that's what this is all about. But also, I want to know what it's like to what inspired you, each of you, to want to write a book, because I can tell you from my own personal experience, it's not an easy thing to do. You write your book, you write the whole transcript, and then you're done with the transcript, and you're like, yay, I'm done. And then, like I said to somebody else the other day, the smoke clears and you're like halfway up Mount Everest. And then you got to deal with front cover art, back cover this, the ISBN codes, things that you never even knew existed, they pop in. So I'm going to start with you, Bennie, first, because I'd love to hear what inspired you to write Silver Spoon, and how long did it take you to kind of get it going, and how do you feel now that it's been out?
Yeah, what inspired me to write Silver Spoon, I would say, would be I had this moment at Michigan State where I was playing at Michigan State. I'm on the left-hand side of the field. I'm coming off my first 100-yard game, and we're getting ready to play Notre Dame on ABC. college game days there. Everything seems like it's getting ready to be aligned for my breakout game and for everybody to know my name. I'm on the left-hand side of the field. I'm running a go route. I beat the defender. The ball's coming in the air, and it goes right through my hands. Now, I had a similar moment like this in high school where I airballed a free throw in my first ever varsity basketball game. But this time it was in front of 75,000 people, and everybody saw, and Twitter had just came out, and everybody's just, talking about me on Twitter. You're getting some death threats here and there, just, people, keyboard warriors, as I call them. And that moment really stuck with me, and it was tough for me just because it was in the newspaper. I had got benched actually because of that performance. And my high school coach was at that game, my high school varsity basketball coach, who's now a mentor and a friend. And he gave me the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And it's about a guy who had all the possessions in the world, and then he had a heart attack, but he goes on this personal journey of discovery to really find who he truly is. And after reading that book, I was super inspired on this personal growth journey. But I got cut in Chicago, and it was like, all right, what's going to be next if I don't get a call from another NFL team? What if, this is a couple of years ago, what if I don't get a call again? So I was at home for about 4 or 5 weeks. I was like, I'm going to share my story about where I come from in terms of, I come from the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan, but you're always hearing these stories about people who come from adverse backgrounds, or they have to go through this and that. Well, I didn't have to go through that, but I had to earn my scholarship to Michigan State. I had to earn my way in the NFL. So it's all about maximizing your 24 hours. But that Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, that book, and just that personal growth and wanting to share, you just never know what story can land with somebody to inspire them. So it's all about giving back and inspiring other people. And that's why I chose to write my book. And it was a difficult process in terms of like what you said, like, all right, you finish the manuscript, and then there's so many other things, but it's just like your NFL career. JJ can speak to this. Anybody's career, you have steps that you have to do, and it's all about the process to get to that end goal. But you have to just, what's that feeling going to be like when you finish it? That's what kept me going and kept pushing through.
Nice. How about you, JJ?
Well, I think when I think about it, I always wanted to be an author. I don't know. I just thought it was cool to write a book. I said, I want to be an author one day. And when I was in the NFL, I used to keep a journal of my days and my career, and just when I was a free agent and when I got cut, when I made teams, because I thought I was going to write a book about what's it like to play in the NFL. But about the time that I started thinking about doing that, I was like, okay, that's already been done. Let's try something else. But it was about 6 years ago I started seriously looking at becoming a professional speaker, because I've been doing a lot of speaking just for free, for whether it was for different organizations, schools, but I wanted to get serious about it. And I hired a mentor, Dr. Will Moreland, who is a professional speaker, author. He authored 25 different books. And I told him that I'd really like to launch a speaking career. Can you guide me through the process? And the first why? He said, instant credibility as a speaker. He said, you don't want to just be another speaker. How about being a speaker who's a best-selling author? He said, that's something you can add to your title. And he said, and if you really focus your message on a specific topic, people will see you as an expert on that subject matter. So that's how we came up with my book, When Opportunity Knocks, 8 Surefire Ways to Take Advantage, because it's really all about seizing your opportunities in life, and I think all of us can attest to the fact that we've had goals, we've had dreams, we've had things that we want, and we missed out on opportunities, or maybe we grabbed it and we couldn't maintain it. But Mark, when I looked at my NFL career, 9 years, 5'10", 157 pounds, the last time I checked, there has not been an NFL player who's played as long as me, as light as me, under 160 pounds. So, and Bennie knows, he knows how big the receivers are. But I thought, here's something that makes me unique. So maybe I can create content to help people who feel like the underdog, the odds are against them. You know, whatever the obstacle is, I can show them, hey, here's how I seize my opportunities, and here's how you can do the same. So that was really the motivation behind writing that first book.
First.
Oh, book number 2 is coming at some point.
Let's go.
We got the outline together. So
almost nothing gets by me. You know, it's funny. I've often thought about the same thing because, you know, it's almost like, you know, when women talk about giving birth and they say, well, they kind of forget about all that when they're ready to give the, you know, when they get pregnant for the second one, and they, you know, it's sort of like you forget the challenges sometimes, or even looking back on maybe your time in college, a lot of times you forget about the all the studying and everything else. You remember a lot of the fun stuff and the good stuff. And it's the same sort of thing with my book, where I remember it was just like, I had an editor that was just hammering on me to like, all right, dude, get, you know, focus on chapter 3 or whatever it was. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, and it was quite a sort of torturous, right? But then when you're done, and, you know, when I remember when I first got this thing in the mail, I was like, ah, and, you know, just to think that it's sort of your legacy, right? And it's the written word, and it's hopefully something that will be around for a long time. And but it's great to hear you want to do another one, JJ and Benny. I have a feeling you might too. Just guessing.
yeah.
3 or 4.
Whoa.
JJ,
All right.
JJ and I are going to have to collab on a book for just being, well, he was drafted, but just being receivers catching passes from Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
There you go. So that sounds like some content we might have to share on. So, but Mark, I would add this. So, you know, my work that, like Benny talked about, the writing experience was tough. You know, there's definitely a learning curve, and I'm glad I had a mentor. It took me about 1.5 years because I did allow life to get in the way. But the thing is that like anything in life, when you do it the first time, you do okay, and you want to do it the second time. And I can't write that second book based off of what I learned from the first experience.
Absolutely. I can piggyback on that if I may. JJ, that's a great point. Like, now I am super excited to write a second book. I don't know what the idea is just yet, but I do have some ideas. But I think one of the hardest parts for me is the imposter syndrome of who's going to read it? What if nobody reads it? And then you're going back and forth in your mind. But what really got me and really helped me is I had a mentor as well, that if only one person reads it, you're affecting one life. And that's one life that needs it. So I thought it was incredible for my mentor to share that with me. But JJ, like, you know, yeah, I want to do another book, and I know it will be even better because I've already gotten past those little imposter syndrome roadblocks. Well, what if nobody reads it? Should I put my face on the cover? Should I do this? Should I do that? If it only affects 10 people, I left the world a better place.
Spot on. That's really good. And it's true, because, you know, it's funny. I was talking about this earlier today with somebody else, that a lot of times we underestimate what our true impact is on other people. And it's something where, and it's a good thing. I mean, a lot of times as an entrepreneur, a business owner, and I know you guys know this, you know, you spend a lot of time talking to people and helping them out and giving them advice that hopefully will really help motivate them and you know, lead them to greater performance or just a better life. And, you know, a lot of times we don't hear from people that we may have affected, but that's okay. I mean, we love what we do. I'm assuming you guys love it too. But one thing that really, really helped me a lot was actually at that conference in Vegas that I met you at, JJ. There was a gentleman there, his name is Jose Rojas, and Jose was sitting like right opposite the aisle from me. And we did one of those things where we kind of looked at each other like, wait a minute, I know you, I know this guy. And here I am in the basement of some random hotel in Vegas. I don't go to many conferences or whatever. And I was sitting right next to a guy that I recognized. And so I said, you know, he goes, Mark? And I said, yeah. He says, you know, Jose. And I'm like, right. So it turned out Jose Rojas was the very first, I did work with the Wounded Warriors, and he was the very first Wounded Warrior that I helped him out with his LinkedIn and helped him out with his networking and meeting people and all that sort of thing. And he says, you know, I never had a chance to really tell you this, but because of your advice and everything else, I was able to get a job at PNC Bank, and now I'm doing this banking stuff. And, you know, I really appreciate that. And I was kind of like, whoa, because I I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't know nowhere, but in Vegas, and run into this guy randomly, and it was, I mean, that to me is way too coincidental, but it was really interesting. And so I think that that's what fuels me, is the whole notion, just what you said, Benny. If you can just impact one person, and a lot of times that one person will then go impact others. So it magnifies, it grows on itself. Before we go much further, I want to just quickly say, for everybody, there's a Q&A section on the right side there, and that over there in the bar. If you have any questions, don't ask them anonymously. Go ahead and ask them as yourself, because then what I'm going to do is invite you into this little presentation mode if you'd like, and feel free to ask these gentlemen directly the questions. So if you have a question of any sort, put it in that section there, and then mention there that you'd like to be brought in, and I'll do that and invite you in. Anyway, so next question, gentlemen, is this. I think many people, or everybody, has had some sort of level of struggle throughout this year of a variety of different ways, right? Whether it's mental, physical, family, all kinds of things that have happened. But I think there's also been a lot of silver linings that have come out of this. Maybe if you could each tell me a little bit about what we can all do to almost like use or leverage or whatever it is that we've all experienced for the past several months into really carrying it into like a forward momentum into 2021.
Excellent. Let me go ahead and go first.
Yeah, you go ahead and go.
Yeah, the first thing I would say is, understanding first that we control what we can control. I mean, right now we can't control everything that's happened. I mean, we're obviously filled with a lot of uncertainty, and everybody's been affected by it. And one of the things I've told everyone, I said, there's like a process you want to follow, and that's the focusing on what you can control. And the first thing I always say is get your mindset right. Get your mind right. Okay, these things are happening. All right, great. But I have the ability to control what I do moving forward. So, because how we think affects us from day to day. And if we're negative thoughts and self-limiting beliefs, it's going to be hard to pick ourselves up and take ourselves where we want to. So first thing, I'm like, get your mindset right and get it where it needs to be. Second thing, and I would say, is assess the situation. I mean, really look at the situation and like, is it really as bad as it may appear? Really evaluating so you can truly see what you're dealing with, because once you do that, then you put together a game plan. All right, here's my plan moving forward. This is what I'm going to do. And I speak from the person of someone who's very much in control. I always feel like I'm in control of the situation isn't in control of me. So when I put that game plan together, then it's committing to putting in the work to accomplish it. And so as long as people understand that, okay, here's how I think, here's what I do, here's what I'm going to do, and stand on that plan, you have a better chance to win. You can win now and you can win in the future, because two things they want to be focusing on. How can I win right now? And then how can I win in the future? Because at some point this is going to turn. So you want to be ready when it turns so that you can ultimately accomplish what's important to you. So that's just kind of a quick mindset approach I would take. It's one of the things I've been sharing with people.
Oh, that's fantastic. How about yourself, Benny?
Yeah, JJ, that's great advice. I will piggyback off that advice as well. It does start with your mindset. So if you are here right now and you're listening to this, that's a blessing, because 2020 has taken a lot of people from us. So that's a blessing. So let's start with some gratitude and be thankful for that we're here. And then attitude. Attitude is super big and it's super important. And I look at my baby boy, Simba. I'm a dog dad. I'm a proud dog dad. But Simba has the right attitude. Now, we have a lot of rabbits and squirrels in our neighborhood that he loves to chase. Now, he's never caught one, but he always sees the opportunity. Every time he sees one, he gets super excited. So every time you wake up in the morning, let's get excited about what can possibly happen. What sparks possibility? JJ's book, Opportunity Knocks. Think about the opportunities that you can make happen. One of the things that 2020 has taught all of us is that family is super important. But also, when life was normal, we always talk about, I wish I had more time to do this. I wish I had more time to do that. I wish I just needed more time. Well, 2020 gave us a lot of time. What did you do with it? But what do you want 2021 to look like? But what do you want 2025 to look like? Close your eyes, envision what do you want it to look like? What do you want it to feel like? What needs to happen in the next 90 days? What do you need to be in the next 45 days? What do you need in the next 2 weeks? Where do you need to be at the end of this week for your 2021 vision to come to life? I think we all need to think about the opportunities and the possibilities, because like JJ said, we get stuck in those limiting beliefs because we're only focused on what's happening happening wrong to us. But what can happen? What can we make happen? What's possible here? That's why I love New York City so much, because it sparks possibility. And that's why people move there, because anything and everything is possible. So moving into 2021, what's possible for you? We're all a lot more capable than we think we are.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you brought up a very good point. One of the things that I learned when I was being certified as a coach 174 years ago was the concept of something that they call the 30-year vision. And it's all about how you don't just look at what's happening to you next week or next month or even this coming year, but you think 30 years out, you think 20 years out. Okay, what am I going to be doing in 10 years, in 20 years? Do I want to be in a bigger home? Do I want to have a boat or a nice car or something? Who are the people that I want to be surrounded by? What is the work that I want to be doing, or do I not want to be doing? And then you can almost do the reverse engineering and come backwards from it. Because a lot of times I think what happens is that people they say, well, gee, I'd love to be in a big home or something. And they look at that as the top of the mountain and they say, wow, look at all the way I've got to climb. Instead of looking the other way around and saying, all right, I'm at the top of the mountain, I'm in this home, how did I get here? And it's sometimes easier to do it that way. But that's great points, gentlemen. This is really fantastic. So
what do they want to feel too? We always think about the external things, but how do we want to feel in 2021? What's that feeling going to produce? Yeah, you can have that big house. I know a lot of successful people with a lot of money who are very unhappy.
Yeah.
I know people with big houses who are unhappy. What do they want to feel like in 2021? That freedom, that choice to do and be with your family, your friends, and work and live life on your own terms.
Yeah. Hey, can I add to that? I think that's a really good point, because one of the things I've been stressing, and I do a lot of my keynotes, is going down to the motivation of what people want. You go into 2021, whatever the goal is, why do you want it? And really trying to dig down to the core, because sometimes we say we want this, but it's not the first response. It's why do you want it? And then whatever the answer is, then why do you want it? Whatever the answer is, you're trying to peel that layer of onion and get to the core. Because if people can get to the core of what they really do want, it doesn't matter what happens in 2020. It doesn't matter what happens in 2021. Because if the why is strong enough, the process to get there is not a challenge. So I think everybody, as you look at 2021, you got to figure out what is it you want and why do you want it? And if people can get that deep-seated motivation, then they're unstoppable.
That's where they get that creativity. When you, like you said, when you peel back that onion, when people, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. When you really want it, your mind will find a way for you to get it once you peel back that onion. Great point, JJ. Great point.
But you know what? And you guys know this. When you are doing something that you wake up in the morning excited and fired up to do, your productivity goes through the roof. And when you're more productive, you feel better about things. When you feel better about things, it all kind of, everything builds upon itself. And some people say, oh, well, I'm trying so hard to do this that I love doing, but I'm not making any money, or I'm not. Well, that will all follow. It's just something that if you can find something, and one of my big core beliefs and what I really try to teach all the time is that, every minute you try to spend looking for something that you're just settling for is a wasted minute. Take that minute and invest it in that dream job or dream business or something that you feel is a stretch. And you say, you're mentioning earlier about the imposter syndrome, Benny, but the whole notion that, none of us really are imposters. I mean, we all have incredible skills and capabilities that we bring to the table. And there's no reason why you can't wake up every morning. Sure, I know it sounds very whatever it is, but shooting for the stars. But, again, I always think, and I always tell people, listen, absolutely go for something that may be out of your reach, because there are other people that every day are landing jobs or businesses or whatever it is, that is just a lucky break, or just a conversation, or meeting people like in a room like this or whatever it is, that changes everything. And you almost have to be, what they always said with the lotteries, you got to be in it to win it, right? It's the same thing with your dreams and ambitions. How do you think about your future, like the 30 years down the line, and still be able to live in the present? So, and that's a great question, John. Thanks. What is it about, yes, you're looking forward those 30 years or 20 years, and whatever it is that you feel is a great life, or, building towards a great life. What do you do today to get towards that?
Well, I have my vision on my board. I have a vision board, but the vision that I have, like you talked about, Mark, that seems a little bit out of my reach, is a place to come from, not to get to. So I have a vision for my life in the next 10 years to hold a speaking event with people that I know personally and fill out a basketball arena. Now, if I don't get that goal, I'm not upset, but it's a place to come from. So I have to be present every single day. I have to be on the phone. I have to be speaking. I have to be connecting with people. That's the things that have to go on in the present. And then what do I want to get out today? What are my results for today? What are my specific actions that are move me towards that vision is how I stay present.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to probably go back to the why. It really depends on what's driving me at the time. And I think, from year to year, there's whatever's motivating you today might not be what was motivating you 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I mean, when I was in the NFL, what was driving me was, take care of my family, change my circumstances. I was raised in the hood. I wanted a different life for my family and I. And then I got married, and then we had 3 children, and then we adopted 5 nieces and nephews. Then I had 8 children. So what was driving me? Well, to take care of that family. And now my youngest just moved out. So what's driving me today? Now to be able to spend these years with my wife, who we've been raising children forever, but really be able to spend the kind of quality time we can spend together. That's what's driving me right now. So, what people have to do from time to time is you have to ask yourself, what is it that's driving me today? What is it that gets me excited? What makes me want to jump out of bed and go for it? Because whatever it is today, it might be something different next year and the year after. That's why you got to do these check-ins from time to time. So that's what's always worked for me.
Oh, that's great. Hey, one other quick question, just going back to the books a little bit. David was asking, is there anything that you would have done a little bit differently when you wrote your books?
Yeah. The number one thing I would have done differently is I would have hired a better editor. I had an editor who was a friend of a friend. Oh, I'll do it for you. And oh my goodness, when I got that first draft of it, I was like, oh my goodness, I was correcting errors. And then they went through and edited again, and there were still errors. And I just thought, I will hire a professional editor this time to edit my second book. That's probably the number one thing I'll do differently. The only other thing is I did self-publish it. I don't know if I'll self-publish it. I've had some opportunities to work with some publishing companies. That one I'm not really sure about. So, but other than that, hire a professional editor.
Nice.
I would have put or done an audiobook from the start, just because everybody's always on the go. Not everybody sits down to read the actual words, but they'll definitely listen. And that's like something I'm in the process of doing right now, is just adding an audiobook version to give to people, because I know people love to listen to books on their car or on the plane. So
that's great. It's funny. I don't have an audiobook version now. Well, I do have one. It's if you want to call me, I'll read to you my book, like a little bedtime story every night if you'd like, and we can do a chapter a day. But other than that, I agree with you, Benny. I needed to do an audio version, absolutely. And someone said, "Oh, just get someone else to read it." I'm like, no, that's just weird, man. I don't know, unless it's, I don't know. Brad Pitt or
Somebody
whatever it
close
is.
to you. I'm gonna have my mom. She wants to read mine because obviously she's been there for every single part of
Yeah.
the story, and she has a great voice. So it just really depends on who's close to you and who can also put that emotion into it. And then doing a synopsis after every chapter, I add like why this chapter is in here.
Oh, that's a great idea. And JJ, you're right about the editor thing. Absolutely. What's interesting is I ended up doing something where I thought my editing was absolutely spotless because I'm a little freaky about that stuff. And then my editor was even freakier about that stuff. But then we hired a proofreader, and the funny part was they found like 2 periods wrong in the whole book. I mean, I was pretty happy with that. So the proofreader thing is pretty important, I think.
Absolutely.
But and then I don't know, but it's awesome, gentlemen. It's great to. I mean, I can't recommend enough to people to really think about, the notion. It's a big journey, and it's a lot of work. But, and writing a book isn't for everybody, but it's a fantastic thing to do. Now, Freddie was asking, well, when you're writing, do you keep a tight daily routine? Do you try to hit a certain word count? Is your process more when inspiration comes, especially with kids and things going on, distractions? Because Freddie's also an author, and he's in the midst of writing something.
You want to take that, Benny, first, or
Benny?
The inspiration.
Well,
or like
also
where I get the time.
daily routine with it, and did you say, I'm going to do X amount of words today, kind of a thing, or how are you doing it?
Yeah, I had a routine for it. It was every Tuesday. I was sitting down. I already had the chapters that I wanted to, but I would just sit down and really think about what I wanted in this chapter and talk it out, and then what person I wanted, what friend of mine, because I added friends to each chapter that I felt fit the theme of the chapter. But I would do it every Tuesday. Tuesdays are our off day in the NFL, so I did it every Tuesday, and I would just block off an hour and a half, 2 hours, and just let everything ramble out, get it all on paper, and then have it organized and edit out. But I was always so passionate about it that I never really had a writer's block thing because the inspiration was there every single day. Just because in the NFL season, 1 week is like 2 months of somebody's life. JJ can attest to that. Like an NFL season, it might be like 4 or 5 years of actual life, what you can actually learn and see. So the inspiration was there for me every single week.
Yeah, my first writing experience, I was like all over the place. I mean, I was just like, I because I didn't really understand how to write, at first. And my mentor said, just start writing, just start writing. So I just started writing. And I remember giving him the first draft, and he says, okay, this is good. He goes, now you got to go deeper in your stories. You got to make sure they have points, they have takeaways. And so then I wrote another version. And then he was like, okay, we're getting close. And it took, like I said, 1.5 years. And my wife, when I got about probably 2/3 of the way done, I was stuck for a couple of months because life was getting in the way. And she checks us into a hotel room in Scottsdale, and she locked me in the room all weekend and said, start writing. And I finished my book because she locked me in the hotel room, and we got it done, so.
That's great.
But the experience will be different because right now, I already have an outline. I'm testing content right now, and that's the beauty of social media. I'm testing a lot of content, and I'm seeing what my audience is responding to. So I think that's going to be, this second round will be, I think, a lot more efficient, more smoother, because I kind of know what I'm going to write. I know what the audience wants to hear, and then it's just a matter of putting it together.
That's brilliant.
And I'll probably time blocks too. I'll probably do write 500, 800 word time blocks, once or twice a week or something like that.
Well, you know what it is when you're writing. Sometimes, anyway, there's no such thing as really a limit. You just kind of write, and it just flows, and it's great. And then there are other times where you're sort of, I don't really feel like writing about that specific topic right now. But I like what you were saying. That's really excellent. That's really great planning, JJ. I like that, with the whole notion of using your network and your reach to sort of almost like a comedian does the same idea, where they're testing out their jokes, at different gigs, especially when they just drop into places just to try out a specific routine. So I like that. That's great. So I want to start tying things together a little bit now, because I want to have a chance for us to be able to jump back and chat some more at the tables and so forth. But in terms of, as athlete, and Benny, you're still active, you're still playing. Do you feel that, and this is more of an athlete sort of transition kind of a question and stuff. Do you feel that athletes in general are paying enough attention to, or even paying any attention at all to, what happens afterwards? I think there's more being paid attention to that, but it's not enough yet. But I don't know. What is your impression of that, Benny?
Yeah, I feel like people are starting to pay more attention to it, just the way that they've seen Peyton transition, or they saw Kobe Bryant transition. LeBron is setting himself up. Drew Brees is setting himself up. I see more athletes trying to do it, but I think the thing that they're falling in trouble with, or getting in trouble with, is that, does it identify with who they want to be? Some people, you see athletes transition into coaching, and they don't want to coach, but that's the only way they can make money. Who do they want to be? What really excites them? JJ talked about that earlier. What really excites you? The reason why I'm getting into performance coaching and coaching business leaders and entrepreneurs who are just scratching the surface is because I get excited about that. I stay up till 1 o'clock. I get up at 5 a.m. to learn more about coaching and to network and connect with people, because I love to do it. They have to find what they really love to do. But everybody thinks that they can play forever. And one of my mentors told me right when I got into the NFL, he said, you're on your way out. I don't care if you play for 10 years or 15 years. Right when you step through that door, you're on your way out. It's 2,000. I don't know how many people play college football every year, and the people that go to the combine, the people that don't go to the combine, there's more people coming in. But who do you want to be after that? What's your passion? What are you interested in? Look at Tony Romo's transition. It seems seamless, but he found out what he was passionate about and what he was really good at. What are your strengths? People don't identify that, so they just go with what they know. Oh, I'm just going to be a football coach, even though these football coaches are staying in the building 15, 16 hours a day, and as a player, you didn't even want to come in there, but they just get stuck into, well, that's all I know. But you got to find out what you're really passionate about. Even people in their 9-to-5s, does that really excite you? What would you rather be doing? I know a lot of people would rather be living on their own terms instead of listening to somebody else. And that's one of the reasons why I'm having my own business when I'm done playing and being an entrepreneur, because I'm sick of people telling me what to do and coaches telling me what to do. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, I think, and I told Benny this. Benny is a perfect example of what athletes should be doing. You don't wait till your career is over. You start planning for life after football when you enter the league. Active players, their influence is going to be most potent and most highest when they are playing. To see what Benny's doing right now, I'm jealous. I wish I had done that when I was playing, but I wish more athletes would do that and start planning for life after their career when the career starts, because that's when they can start networking. That's when they can start building those relationships. That's when they can start creating, opportunities that they can be able to have options once their career is over. And I think some of the athletes get this, but in general, most of them don't, because they don't realize that you're going to be a retired player a lot longer than you're going to be an active player. And if you have, if you're someone who's given them the right advice, then they have a chance, obviously, to set themselves up for success. So one of the things I tell Mark every time I'm asked by the NFL Players Association, what are some things we can do to help players today? I always tell them the same thing. I said, you need to partner them up with a former player who has successfully transitioned, because they can tell them exactly what they did and what they wish they had done, but that hasn't really happened yet. But when Benny reached out to me, I thought that was cool, because I was more than happy to share with him what I knew.
Yeah, and JJ definitely helped me, and he made me feel comfortable in my own skin to think about life after. I think some of the problems is that if you bring this up to a current player, they feel like as if it's a threat, like you're telling me my career's almost done. No, I'm just helping you. Just don't make these decisions. You see all these people get into this trouble life after But it comes to identity. And this happens with CEOs all the time, not just athletes. They get so caught up in the identity of I am a football player, I am a CEO. No, you're a human being. You CEO is what you do. It's not who you are. I am more than an athlete. I am more than a football player. I'm not just a Super Bowl champion. I'm just a champion in whatever I do. JJ, the way he carries himself. Yes, incredible football player, but he's an incredible husband, father. It's all one person, but he's comfortable with who he is. Some of the athletes aren't comfortable with, well, all I know is a football player. My coach that helped coach me, he asked me who I was, and I said, yeah, I'm a Super Bowl champion. I'm an author. He's like, no, who are you? And I started crying because I hadn't identified myself. That's all I identified myself was with all my accomplishments. I was crying for like 10 minutes. But when you find out who you truly are, that's when you really start to live.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing. You know, it's funny because I think that most people, when you meet them for the first time and you're at an event or something, most people say, oh, well, hey, Bob or whoever, what do you do? And it just turns into what they do. And I like to turn around and say, well, no, it's more like just you said who you are, what you bring to the table, what is it, what is your value sort of thing, not what do you do kind of thing. Because I think a lot of people do things they don't necessarily want to be quote doing, right? So it's interesting. So when you also said, Benny, a second ago, which is really good, talking about how a lot of the players are almost like it's jinxing them, right? If you're talking to them about what their plan B is before their plan A is over, they almost don't want to think about that. It's like, oh no, why do I want to prepare for that? But instead, if you turn it around, I would tell people all the time, instead of thinking about it as a plan B, thinking about it as like a side interest, not a side hustle, but an interest that you really enjoy doing. So maybe a player can really be interested in photography or music or real estate or finance or whatever it is. And then while they're still playing, start meeting people that are tied in with those things, not the fanboys, the fangirls and all that sort of thing, but just try to meet some people along the way in every city you play in or whatever it might be, and just start, meeting people for a coffee, for a lunch. And it's amazing how connections you make while you're still playing can really leverage into great things once you leave the game. And Benny, you're also spot on when you said the day you step on the field is you're basically retiring. It's just a question of when.
And JJ's idea is really strong though. And I think him and I should talk to the NFL together. But if it's done one-on-one, it's not a threat. You do it in a big group,
right?
It shuts everybody off. Why do NFL players go broke? It's because you're talking to 100 people at one time. So 2 people are listening. Mm-hmm. You have to sit these guys. You don't want NFL athletes to go broke, or NBA athletes or rappers, whatever it may be. You don't want anybody to go broke. Sit down and talk to them one-on-one so they can let their guard down. You talk to 100 people, of course, not everybody going to listen. You're talking to us at the end of the day when practice is over. Now we got an NFLPA meeting. If there is no check, most of the guys are ready to leave.
Yeah. One last question before you go bounce back, because it ties in a little bit with this. Cameron's asking, what other passions do you both have that might be almost like a therapeutic, like a hobby or a lucrative side hustle or another stream of income? And how does that fit in with your prioritizing your time? JJ?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've been in network marketing for like 13 years. I have an online health and wellness business with a company called Isogenics. And I was attracted to it because of the health and wellness, but I like the freedom to be able to work with other people. But that's how I got into speaking, because I would go to these network marketing events and they were putting me on stage and I was speaking to like 10 to 15,000 people. And one day I realized that, I could actually, create a speaking platform that could be separate from this, where I would end up having 2 businesses. And that's why I ended up that's what I do today. I have my health and wellness online business and I have my speaking business. So the side hustle became my main hustle, which actually led to becoming a professional speaker. But back to what I said at the beginning, because when I retired from the NFL, my goal was to become an entrepreneur. And I networked and I met a bunch of doctors. I became owner of 2 different medical companies in Kansas City, durable medical equipment, and I had some physical therapy clinics and a fitness equipment company in Atlanta. And I ran those companies for 10 years. Loved working with people, but I did not like the lack of control. I was overworked, stressed out, and all that. And that's what led me to what I do today, because now I'm in control. You know, I make the decision. I control who I work with when I work. And that's really what I want. And as an athlete, that's all I want. It just took me some time to figure that out. And I think that's the message for people, that sometimes it takes us some time to figure out what our passion is. And we might have to go through and try a couple different things, but eventually, hopefully we do get it. And that's where I am today.
Oh, that's great. Excellent. Thank you. And Benny?
Yeah, coaching people. I love speaking. This is my side business is speaking, coaching business leaders and entrepreneurs. And then I have a group coaching program, but I also have an online course for people who can't afford the one-on-one, where they can really learn and set these goals, learn how to set the proper affirmations for themselves, just really take control of that personal growth and personal development. But if I had another passion that would be therapeutic, it would just be going to play basketball or shoot basketball. I love basketball. I've been playing my whole life. Every NFL game that I've ever played in, I wear NBA socks. So I love basketball.
Wait a minute. So who's your team?
Golden State Warriors right now. Draymond is a very, very, very close friend. He's like a brother to me. So Draymond and I, I'm a Warriors fan. I was a Lakers fan, but we'll get into that later.
I'm a Lakers fan. So, you know.
It's so easy for you guys to say that now. A couple of years ago, I don't know. But anyway, well, gentlemen, listen, I really appreciate you hanging out today in the club room. This has been a fantastic conversation. I'm looking forward to sharing the replay of this with people that didn't have a chance to attend, because this is just incredible advice from both of you. And we can absolutely go on for a long time with this. You're both not just fantastic speakers, but also give such quality advice and insight. And from slightly different perspectives, you both shared time on the field and so forth, but you're coming at it from different, one retired, one is current, but you're both doing great work. And thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
All right, my pleasure.